Okay, welcome back to the live version of the Ben Zion podcast. I am going to. Okay, welcome back to the live version of the Ben Zion podcast. I'll probably rip this from Facebook and put it on Ben Zion podcast regular channel. I'm going to stall for time for a minute or two. Maybe that'll let a couple of people tune in. And then I'm going to read a statement that I've prepared uh, or comment on some notes that I've prepared about collective superintelligence, an important concept that I've seen written about more in the tech trades in recent months, but I don't think that any of them have done justice to it. So I'm going to review one such article in the form of a Marxist tech accelerationist response, a Marxist transhumanist response. I am a transhumanist. I've met some other transhumanists, not too convinced of any of their own authenticity. I've met some other Marxists. I am convinced mostly of some of their authenticity. Um, but I implore you, if you're a person who believes in fighting for a humane and sustainable economic system, which is what all that a Marxist is. That's all that a communist is. Not a scary bad guy, not an evildoer, not somebody who you should be at cross purposes with, someone who you should be joining, because without that very joining together, this planet may well be uninhabitable for humans in approximately 5 decades. It could be a multi-billion person life sometime between now and then. Multi-billion person loss of life. Let's see, is somebody joining here? And that's pretty bad. That's not an act of God. It's not something that was unavoidable because there's 8 billion people puttering around on Earth. That is capitalism's climate apocalypse. A horror show that could have been avoided and could still be reversed. Those many billions of people don't need to die. Is the point? And well, I will see about. I'm going to try and open this other tab. Hopefully, this won't mess up the stream. Still says I'm live, so this is a conversation about collective superintelligence. If you're not familiar with these concepts, I guess we'll start with the basics. You probably have heard that chatbots have improved quite a lot in the last year. You probably never heard of something called ChatGPT before about 1 year ago. But actually, there was ChatGPT products available before ChatGPT 3. They just weren't in widespread use. They were mostly being used by developers at that time. So this is something that's been around for a few years. A couple of other comparable products have been around for a few years, but this ChatGPT and its competitors made quite an impact on the popular imagination within the last year. So much so that one of the people who coined some of these terms, such as artificial general intelligence, Ben Goertzel, has said in recent days that this very act of popularizing through ChatGPT has increased the likelihood of something like collective superintelligence, something like an AI takeoff, occurring in as little as 3 years, according to Professor Goertzel. And he believes between 3 and 8 years an AI takeoff will occur. His recent comments did not refer to collective superintelligence directly. He was writing more specifically about the concept of artificial general intelligence and its impacts. However, I'm going to focus, if you want to hear talk about artificial general intelligence from a Marxist tech accelerationist perspective, you can go to the Ben Zion podcast and listen to many programs on that subject. But I'm going to focus for this conversation on collective superintelligence. So the author of this piece from VentureBeat has the right idea. He, like uh, like other transhumanists, at least trying to get into the general ballpark of not being a person well on the wrong side of history. But also, like those people, there's virtually no concern for other human beings or a functioning society in what those people, today's transhumanists, and not just transhumanists, but all tech minded people, not just even tech obsessives, but basically all of the tech minded people, all of the people that would encompass this world of so called Silicon Valley. They all have this same failing where they are attempting to do something that would seem to be revolutionary and might even seem to be in keeping with um, Marxist efforts. I got a weird message here. It looks like it's okay. But the problem would be that those people have not applied any class analysis to what they're doing, and more importantly, they're not trying to operate outside of the very systems that are killing the planet. They are trying to find an accommodation with that ecocidal set of systems, most particularly the United States military industrial complex, and most particularly the DARPA pipeline, which they hope to benefit from. So this author is almost certainly one of those people. This is an analysis of a piece from VentureBeat. The author has an intriguing idea when he describes collective superintelligence. His perspective remains confined within a bourgeois ideology and fails to confront the contradictions of technological development under capitalism. Connecting groups into intelligent swarms appears to be a clever hack, yet leaves existing capitalist social relationships unchallenged. That's the essential problem. And so this VentureBeat article ignores how pursuits of artificial superintelligence will manifest capital's insatiable drive for profit and control, exacerbating this situation of a dying planet rather than making it better. And that is basically the essential accelerationist mindset, right? There's an awful lot of people in this 21st century capitalist hellscape who are described as accelerationists. They're people who say, for example, I voted for Joseph Biden because he's so dumb that he's made things worse, which will lead to all kinds of changes which I would like to see. That's not how change is supposed to happen. It's incredibly reckless, and the real thing to do is to take the principled positions of fighting for a humane and sustainable economic system. The automating away human cognition follows directly from automation of manual labor. Both seek to increase relative surplus value, and so these super intelligent programs created by folks like OpenAI, who made ChatGPT, and Anthropic, who made Claude. They will. These are the two of the top 4 or 5 products of this kind that you can access. There's many others. And I would encourage you, if you're considering using a chatbot, don't use OpenAI or even Anthropic, which is not as bad as OpenAI. Don't use the Google ones. I'll share a link to this at the end of the stream where you can download a chatbot that will provide similar services, and it's open source and not basically operating in league with these military contractors and this very military industrial complex that must be resisted. Swarm intelligence, too, will be co-opted and commodified even as it amplifies cognition. Under capitalist relations, all humans advance will magnify inequality and inequity along the already existing lines of class, race, and gender. New methods to improve group intelligence will be marketized for enterprise gain and state security, not equitably shared. And that is something that the folks like people at VentureBeat, which is short for venture capitalism, right, or business venture. So probably anything with a title like that is probably not going to be terribly inclined to class analysis. But this particular problem of the relationship to the fascist state mechanisms is something that they are intentionally blind to. It's not merely a blind spot. It's a point where they are willfully obtuse. A true collective superintelligence will need a collectivized means of production, and this is something that can easily develop, right? If Mr. Goertzel is correct that we are as little as 3 years away from an AI takeoff that will have shocking consequences for Earth, then there should be no question in your mind that the kinds of changes and the kinds of better institutions that would be required to uphold this Marxist superintelligence could develop in its wake. So you should never say that this is not possible or that revolutionary change is not possible. But when you do that, you're succumbing to the lie of capitalist realism. You're succumbing to a very particular brand of U.S. fascist propaganda. This demands a revolutionary accelerationism, this thing that I call Marxist tech accelerationism, which, as I said, I've met some transhumanists and tech-minded folks and been underwhelmed by their work. I just, in recent days, I'll mention this again in a moment, but in recent days, reread Aaron Bastani's Fully Automated Luxury Communism, and a couple of other works of a similar kind. Daniel Benevev, I can't remember how to say his name, but I read his book as well. These are works that they profess to describe this kinds of revolutionary change brought on by advanced automation. Now, Aaron Bastani's work was written before, say, someone like Mr. Goertzel had revised his view. If you had asked Mr. Goertzel, when will this AI takeoff occur, he would have said, at the time of the publication of Aaron Bastani's work, maybe in 20 years. And now he's saying in 5 years. And so Aaron Bastani's work reflects that. There was less of an interest in an AI takeoff at that time. And so his work is more about automation, and it's more about describing the landscape of the latter part of the 20th century. And therein also it lies its major failing, which basically, if you were to describe this book in a word, it should not be called Fully Automated Luxury Communism. It should be called Wait for the ruling neoliberals who are killing the planet to fully automate the economy and then enjoy your so-called luxury communism. But that is the most heinous of lies, because capitalists and the fascist West have automated a number of sectors in the course of the late 1800s and in the early to mid 20th century. Throughout the 20th century, any number of sectors have been highly automated or even fully automated, and the people did not benefit from that. So, for example, in the early 1800s, there were lots of peasant farmers. Today, farming is highly automated. What happened to the peasant farmers? Did they inherit the spoils of that full automation? Are they now living great lives? No, they were expected to transition to other work, and that transition did not go so smoothly. You would say most of those people are still peasants. And that's what's going to continue to happen. You'll see the consolidation of wealth and the moving of peasants from one area to another, but you will not see what Aaron Bastani describes under capitalism. No matter how large this automation superstructure that people like Aaron Bastani and Daniel Benevev talk about becomes. These are liars. Aaron Bastani's book he wrote it while he was working for a neoliberal friendly think tank. This is at best a center left personality, and this is not somebody who's going to actually change the world for the better. And most of the people that I've observed who are advocates for fully automated luxury communism reflect those same failings. They are not revolutionary minds. So a fully automated luxury communism in its truer form could free humanity from labor itself. But swarms must organize this transition, not just solve narrow problems. So again, a collective superintelligence is talking about a thing that has already begun to happen. Human beings are more connected to one another than they were a few years ago. It might not seem so in certain particulars because there's a lot of growing pains in all of this, but it's an observable effect. You're on social media right now if you're watching this, for example, and a social media response led to the better part of 500,000 people protesting a genocide in Washington, D.C. Last weekend, and many protests around the world. In the past, before the social media era, people didn't really even know about these things. It was filtered through more fascist-friendly mainstream media exclusively, and so people didn't respond appropriately to it. And so this is an observable effect. People are becoming more connected. People are moving closer to something like enhanced superintelligence, collective superintelligence on the whole. I believe that itself might be just a few years away. Without challenging the capital base, however, even brilliant new developments like CSI will be ultimately twisted to serve capital accumulation, and that unfortunately is a mistake that human beings have made over and over again, underestimating the horror that is private wealth and its champions. This very underestimation is leading to the problem alluded to at the top of the show, namely, the planet might be dead in a few years, and none of you seem to be responding appropriately. I don't think any of you, when I say the words near-term human extinction, when I say this phrase to most of you, you don't even seem to fucking understand what I'm saying. I am convinced that I'm surrounded by NPCs and not real human beings because no one's responding appropriately to this problem that is their very demise. Truly universal human freedom requires unleashing technological potentials from profit motives. This means constructing a classless, communist society outside of capital and outside of wage labor. These are things that could easily be done by advanced computing systems like those that are being developed under glass by companies like Google and many others, but by the very things that Mr. Goertzel alludes to. I guess I'll share an article where he talks about this in the comments as well. I like Mr. Goertzel. He's inspired me quite a lot in trying to think about these things. I think that he is a kind of socialist. I don't think that he is a techno-communist exactly. So I'm very hesitant to share works of people who I don't regard to be revolution minded. But he's about as close as a person can come, and having operated at the level that he's operated. Um, um, the working class must become a revolutionary subject to achieve this, not remain fragmented users of platforms owned by capitalists. So we need to consider what a new kind of platform that unites humanity to common purpose and allows them to harness even more advanced computing systems and work together and build better things with these more advanced computing systems. We need to consider what that social structure and digital infrastructure looks like. Hence, collective superintelligence needs a communist horizon, not mere problem-solving efficiency, and this is ultimately the essential failing of people like VentureBeat when commenting about this. They're commenting about what an incredible tool this will be, not realizing that tool is only as good as its users. If you hold a shotgun backwards and pull the trigger, you shoot yourself in the stomach and you die. And that's basically what VentureBeat is suggesting we should do with collective superintelligence. And that's what every person who is not in open defiance of the fascist U.S. and the Western capitalist powers. That's exactly what they are advocating for as well when they describe these things. So there are basically no technologists in this world who are not techno-fascists. A handful of people, I think, on the other side of the line, like perhaps Mr. Goertzel, but virtually none. Our collective intelligence is chained until capitalism's fetters are overthrown.